Hello again, listeners. Today, I was going to talk about leadership. I was just thinking, what traits should leaders have, or let's say godly leaders? What qualities are necessary for a leader to be effective? I'd been looking back at around the Deuteronomy near the end and got to thinking about Joshua. He was a courageous man and he had a call of God on his life. He was to lead God's people into the promised land. I had talked some weeks ago about Caleb and I mentioned Joshua. Okay, I'm going to look at in Deuteronomy 31. I'm going to read Deuteronomy 31, 7 and 8. And Moses called unto Joshua and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and of a good courage, for thou must go with this people unto the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it. And the Lord, He it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. So, they're saying, finally we're going to do this thing, go into the promised land, and it's on you, Joshua. Can you imagine taking over for Moses? These were some big shoes to fill. Okay, now I'm going to read verses 14 through 16. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud, and the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a-whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and while forsake me and break my covenant, which I have made with them. The Lord spoke to Moses and Joshua, and it was like this, this cloud, like a Shekinah glory kind of, but even more than that, they were speaking directly to him, and he told them, the things he had to tell them, though, was, Moses would die, and then the people would be idolizing these other gods, and it was going to anger him, But I covered that in my podcast on Caleb. Okay, now I'm going to read verses 23 through 26. And he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge, and said, Be strong and of a good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, and it may be there for a witness against thee. So, we know that the stone tablets, the 10 Commandments were in the ark. So these scrolls, these laws that Moses had were really like the scrolls of Deuteronomy. They were not in it, but they wanted to keep them, near it or beside it, But it was a reminder of Israel's covenant obligations and all. Okay, now I'm going to read Joshua 1 through 5. Now after the death of Moses, the servants of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your feet shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and upon the great sea toward the going down of the sun shall be your coast. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thine life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Joshua had to remember the armies and those massive walled cities that stood in that land. In verse 5, it says, there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. That had to be an encouragement to Joshua. It was sort of like, a reassurance of God's presence. Okay, now I'm going to read Joshua 1:6. Be strong and of a good courage, for unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. This is God's promise. We as humans can be careless when keeping promises to God, but God is not human, and he keeps his word. Okay, now I'm going to read, Joshua 1, 7 through 9. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law, which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. The Lord provided Joshua with the law, his word. It was given by God to Moses. It guided them as they came through the desert and would continue to guide them now. Every word of the law was important, and they were to meditate on it, day and night. It was to be on their lips. The Lord wanted them to be obedient. Okay, now I'm going to read Joshua 1, 10 and 11. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the host and command the people, saying, Prepare your victuals, for within 3 days ye shall pass over this Jordan to go in and possess the land which the Lord your God giveth to you to possess it. So Joshua was now in charge, and he gave clear instructions. This was to do what should have been done 40 years earlier, cross the Jordan River. Joshua told them in 3 days they would cross it. I don't think at that time, Joshua knew exactly how he would accomplish this task. He only knew that God was leading him to do it. As a Christian leader, you might find yourself in a similar situation. What would you do? If you got that command, you would be excited for the fulfilling of God's promises, but you would probably still be, kind of apprehensive about all the unknowns and everything. I'm going to read verses 12 through 18. And to the Reubenites and to the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh spake Joshua, saying, Remember the words which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, The Lord your God hath given you rest, and hath given you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side of Jordan. But ye shall pass before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them, until the Lord has given you brethren rest, as he hath given you, and they also have possessed the land which the Lord your God giveth them. Then ye shall return unto the land of your possession, and enjoy it, which Moses, the Lord's servant, gave you on this side of Jordan toward the sun rising. And they answered Joshua, saying, All that thou commandest us we will do, and whithersoever thou sendest we will go, according as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses. Whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto thy words and all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and of a good courage. So 3 of those tribes of Israel, the Reubenites, Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, wanted to stay on the land that they had been living in, which was on the east of the Jordan. And the Lord accepted it and told them that they would, have to fight with the others, but then they could return, to their land, after they had finished that. And, the Lord accepted it and everything. Joshua reminded them of their covenant and held them to it. They embraced Joshua as their leader. He had set an example by living out God's commands. The people are more eager to follow when this is done. This godliness is a great quality for leaders to have. A heart that values obedience to and love for the Lord. You might be teaching a class, running a business, or even raising kids. Are you serving as a good example? Following the Lord, you can ask the Lord to give you courage and influence others in their walk with him. Think about these things when you find yourself leading others. Okay, guys, that about does it this time. Until next time.